when Gary approached me with all the cameras there, I think that was really like tasteless, honestly. You know, Gary had told me a couple weeks after that he actually had known for a while, which just tells me that he literally just waited for the cameras to be there. And he kind of admitted it to me and said, you know, well, I just didn't know how you were going to react. But I think that's a bunch of bull. I think what his main goal was is to humiliate us and to try to make our family look like it's not stable, because it's when we were in the big custody battle with Leah. I've met 2 of his kids, you know, and I've known about 3 other ones, but they're all in their 20s. Now, the ones that shocked me, though, was the 2 other ones. He said he had 7 kids. And I didn't know how to react to that. You know, at that time I thought, oh my God, you know, the guy that I'm with, who I'm going to get married to, has been lying to me. He has all these kids he didn't tell me about. You know, that was a lot to handle at the moment. But, you know, it's not accurate. He does only have 5 kids. Yes, I did know about them, but the other ones are older with families, and it wasn't something that we wanted out. We went through a really rough patch because of this, because I had no trust in him anymore. And it's like we had to rebuild our trust again in our relationship. And I really think Gary could have went about it, you know, a different way, because it was a really vulnerable and hard position to put me in. And I really struggled and got depressed over it. You know, nobody wants to think that the person that they've been with for almost 2 years has been lying about something so big like that. So I just really, you know, when he told me, I was really shocked. I can say that today we're in a great place. You know, Matt still says he has 5 kids. And the thing with me that I always go to is, well, if he had 5, why the hell would he tell me if he had 7? As if that really makes a difference to me. I mean, he could have 10, and I don't even know if that would make a difference to me. The point is that his past was horrible. He wasn't a good person back then. He was a womanizing user. He was an addict. And that's not an excuse, but that's the type of person he was 20 years ago. You know, thankfully today he's a different person. So, I mean, I can let him speak for himself, but in my eyes, you know, that's how I feel, you know, with the whole situation. But he can speak for himself on it.
I think that the problem I have with this is whether his information was accurate or not, he presented it as if it was a negative thing. And that's not necessarily the case. He had no idea what the story was behind that. And he was under the impression that because he didn't know, that means she didn't know.
Right.
Gary's not part of our family. We don't open up and tell him everything that's going on in our life, because frankly, it's really none of his business. For people to automatically say this is a negative thing, or you were a deadbeat, or you abandoned your children, when none of that was actually accurate, even a little bit, I think it's unfortunate, because now when this happened, I had to not only deal with Amber having doubts, regardless of whether it was true or not, I also had to deal with people saying to me, oh, you abandoned your kids. It's not true. It's not true and not accurate, because we didn't discuss them publicly, and that's for their own privacy. These aren't small children. These are adults, and adults that don't want anything to do with this. For Gary to come out and say, here's this information and this is a negative and the world needs to know it, that doesn't hurt me. That hurts my kids, and that's not right. So you need to understand the whole story and see the whole history of things before you automatically put a negative connotation on it. I have no shame at all about my older kids, none whatsoever. I love my older kids, but they were born in a time when I wasn't capable of taking care of myself, never mind anybody else. Thankfully, they were raised by a wonderful mother and a wonderful father, and they had great lives, and they had no regrets and no animosity. I think they would have had more animosity had I been more involved in their life, because I was a mess. You don't want your father high 24 hours a day trying to raise you, and it was kind of a blessing in a sense. We've since reconnected. we have a much better relationship now, and there's no animosity and no love lost either. If you mix serious addiction with promiscuity and lack of moral compass or lack of caring about what happens to you the next day, sometimes there's consequences with that, and people need to understand that. You can't blame everything on addiction. However, you can look back and understand, I can understand now that a lot of the behavior that I did was not just based on the drugs, but based on the lifestyle that I was living.
From the stories that he's told me from his past, we connect a lot through that. Mine's just a little bit, closer than his.
I had a 20-year head start. I made a lot of poor decisions, but also, like Amber said, if you look at both of us now as compared to then, the people, they're not even similar people. And I think who we really are has finally come out once we cleaned up.
We still are working on everything. But I can say that we're in a really good place. The first thing, I really got depressed over this.
Me too.
There was a few days I wouldn't even get out of bed because I literally thought the man that I was with was a liar. And I always questioned him. I'm like, listen, if you have more kids, just tell me. Why would I care? I just want you to be honest with me. I understand our past. Just tell me, we're partners. And just talking it out and really spending time with each other and really explaining and getting in depth in a lot of situations that happened in the past and having many conversations, we finally came to the conclusion, no matter what Gary does or says, we're strong in our relationship. We absolutely love each other. And no matter, what things come our way, we're together. And my biggest thing is I don't want to look like the naive 25-year-old because with everything that's happened to me, I that's not me, and I was really scared that everybody would think that I'm this ignorant little girl and this guy is like getting one over on me. And that's really not the case. I had to do a lot of soul searching. That sounds kind of cheesy, but I had to look at my own past and then kind of connect it with his, I guess. A lot of talking it out, honestly. It was like therapy for a week. Both of us depressed and just didn't know where we were going. I think what Gary does is he tries to do things in order to make himself look better while the cameras are on. We have the text message of him apologizing, like a whole paragraph. I think Gary is really scared of his image. Not to be rude and not to be like, oh, let's everybody hate Gary, but because that's not that's not what I want. I just feel like certain things that he does is bullshit. All I know is that if 2 more ever come out, I'm going to be really pissed. Because, like I said earlier, why wouldn't you tell me? Why would I judge you on something like that?